Have you ever felt that chill in the dark, the sense that you're not alone? It's a fear we all know from childhood, but rarely admit as adults. We call it imagination, but what if it's not? Tonight we'll explore 3 stories from people who swear their childhood fears were real. These aren't just campfire tales, they're memories that linger like a cold spot in a warm room. So, turn down the lights, get comfortable, and prepare yourself for a terrifying encounter with your scariest thoughts, moments that will make you want to click on a different video, but out of curiosity in the second story, you won't be able to stop watching and listening. I'm not here to scare you but to make you aware of the mysteries of the unknown, a time others were not as fortunate as you. So kindly like this video, and subscribe to our channel for more bone-chilling stories. When I was 8, my closet never felt empty. Even in the quietest moments, I sensed something lingering just beyond the wooden doors, as if the closet itself was holding its breath, waiting for nightfall. It was an old, heavy thing, oak with brass handles that always felt cold to the touch, no matter the season. My room was small, but the closet seemed to take up more space than it should, looming in the corner like a silent guardian or a watchful intruder. By day, it was just a place for clothes and toys. Sunlight would stream through the window, painting warm patterns on the floor, and the closet would seem harmless, even inviting. I'd open the doors wide, searching for my favorite stuffed bear or a forgotten puzzle, never thinking twice about what might be hiding behind the rows of shirts and boxes. The closet was just another part of my world, ordinary and safe. But at night, it became a dark, gaping mouth in the corner of my room. The shadows would gather around it, thick and heavy, and the familiar shape of the closet would twist into something unfamiliar. The brass handles would glint in the moonlight, like eyes watching me from the darkness. I'd lie in bed, covers pulled up to my chin, and try not to look at it for too long, afraid of what I might see if I stared. My parents always told me to keep the door shut. They said it was to keep the room tidy, to stop the cat from sneaking in and making a mess. But their voices always held a note of urgency, a seriousness that didn't match the simple explanation. Sometimes I'd catch them glancing at the closet with a flicker of unease, as if they too felt something was off. I wondered if they were trying to keep something in. Maybe they knew more than they let on. Maybe, when they tucked me in at night and double-checked the latch, they were protecting me from something they couldn't explain. I started to imagine what might be hiding behind those doors, waiting for the lights to go out. Some nights, I'd hear whispers, soft, rustling sounds, like secrets just out of reach. The noises would start as soon as the house grew quiet, when everyone else was asleep. Sometimes it sounded like fabric brushing against wood, other times like faint voices murmuring words I couldn't quite understand. I'd hold my breath, straining to listen, heart pounding in my chest. I tried to ignore it, humming to myself, burying my head under the pillow. Most nights it worked. I'd squeeze my eyes shut and imagine I was somewhere else, at the park, or at my grandma's house, anywhere but in that room with the whispering closet. Sometimes I'd count sheep, or recite the alphabet backwards, anything to drown out the sounds and convince myself it was all in my imagination. But one night the air felt heavy, charged. It was as if the room itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The shadows seemed deeper, the silence more complete. I could feel a prickling at the back of my neck, a warning that something was different this time. The whispering grew louder, angrier. It was no longer just a background noise. It was insistent, urgent, as if whatever was inside the closet was desperate to be heard. The voices overlapped, rising and falling in a strange, discordant melody that made my skin crawl. I pressed my hands over my ears, but the sounds seemed to seep through, vibrating in my bones. Then came the slow, deliberate creak. It was a sound I'd heard 100 times before, but never like this. The hinges groaned, protesting, as the door began to move. My heart leapt into my throat and I froze, unable to look away. The closet door, latched shut, began to open on its own. I watched in horror, as the latch slid back with a soft click, and the door drifted open, inch by inch. The darkness inside seemed to spill out into the room, swallowing the faint light from my nightlight. A sliver of blackness appeared. The whispering stopped. Silence pressed in. It was the kind of silence that feels alive, thick and suffocating, as if the room itself was waiting for something to happen. I could hear my own heartbeat, loud and frantic in my ears. Then, from the darkness, a pair of pale, luminous eyes stared back at me. They glowed with an unnatural light, cold and unblinking, fixed on me with a terrible intensity. I couldn't look away, even though every instinct screamed at me to hide. Not human, not animal, just eyes. They were wrong somehow. Too large, too bright, set too far apart. There was no face, no body, just those eyes, floating in the blackness, watching, waiting. I felt as if they could see straight through me, into every secret and fear I'd ever had. I was paralyzed, unable to scream or move. My body felt like it belonged to someone else, heavy and numb. I wanted to call for my parents, to run, to do anything but lie there and stare back. But I couldn't. All I could do was watch, heart hammering, as the eyes blinked slowly, almost thoughtfully. The cold in the room was bone deep. It seeped into my skin, into my bones, until I was shivering uncontrollably. My breath came out in little white puffs, and the air felt thick, almost icy. It was as if the closet had opened a door to somewhere else, somewhere much colder and darker than my bedroom. We stared at each other for what felt like forever. Time seemed to stretch and warp, each second dragging on endlessly. I could feel the weight of those eyes pressing down on me, pinning me in place. I didn't know if I was holding my breath or if I'd forgotten how to breathe at all. I blinked, breaking the spell. For a split second, the connection was broken, and I gasped for air, my lungs burning. I squeezed my eyes shut, praying that when I opened them, the eyes would be gone, that it would all be over. When I looked again, the eyes were gone, but the door was still ajar. The darkness inside the closet seemed less menacing in the pale light of dawn, but the memory of those eyes lingered, sharp and vivid. I lay there too afraid to move, watching the closet until the sun finally rose. I stayed awake until sunrise, never taking my eyes off that closet. Every creak of the house, every shifting shadow made me jump. I was certain that if I looked away even for a moment, the eyes would return, and this time, I might not be able to look away. My mom found the door open in the morning. She frowned, puzzled, and asked if I'd gotten up in the night. I shook my head, unable to find the words to explain what had happened. She closed the door with a reassuring smile, but I could see the worry in her eyes. She said it was just a bad dream, but I knew better. The fear was too real, the memory too sharp. I tried to tell her about the eyes, the cold, the whispers, but she just hugged me and promised that nothing could hurt me while she was there. I wanted to believe her, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. I never slept in that room again without a nightlight and a chair against the closet door. Every night, I'd check the latch twice, then drag my desk chair across the floor and wedge it under the handle. The soft glow of the nightlight was a small comfort, but I still watched the closet, waiting for any sign that the eyes might return. The whispers never returned, but the memory and the chill never left. Some fears don't fade. They settle deep inside you, waiting for the right moment to remind you that the world is not as safe as it seems. Even now, years later, I sometimes wake in the night, heart racing, certain I've heard a whisper or seen a flicker of pale eyes in the dark. They just wait in the dark, behind a door you hope will stay shut. And sometimes, when the night is especially quiet, I wonder if the eyes are still there, watching, waiting for me to forget to be afraid. Abandoned playgrounds are supposed to be places of joy, echoing with laughter and the shouts of children at play. They're meant to be sanctuaries of imagination, where every swing is a rocket ship and every slide a mountain to conquer. But when the laughter fades and the children grow up, these playgrounds are left behind, slowly surrendering to time and neglect. But when left to decay, they become something else entirely. The bright colors fade, the metal rusts, and the weeds creep in, swallowing up the memories of happier days. What was once a place of innocence transforms into a landscape of shadows and secrets, where the silence feels heavy and the air tinged with something unspoken. When I was 10, my friends dared me to sneak into the old playground behind our school after sunset. It was a place we all avoided, even in daylight, but the thrill of the dare was too much to resist. The sun was dipping below the horizon, painting the sky in streaks of orange and purple, as we gathered at the edge of the fence, hearts pounding with excitement and fear. I crawled under the fence, heart pounding, as my friends watched from outside. The grass was damp and cold against my skin, and every scrape of metal sounded impossibly loud in the growing darkness. I could feel their eyes on me, a mix of admiration and worry, as I stood up on the other side, suddenly feeling very alone. The swings creaked in the wind, the slide was rusted, and the merry-go-round spun slowly. Though there was no wind, the air felt thick, as if the playground itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Every step I took seemed to echo, the crunch of gravel beneath my shoes unnaturally loud in the silence. I tried to rationalize it, telling myself it was just the wind, just my imagination running wild. But dread crept in, cold and insistent, settling in my chest like a stone. The shadows seemed to move on their own, stretching and twisting across the empty playground, and I felt eyes on me, though I was alone. Then I heard it, faint giggles, so soft I thought I was imagining them. But they grew, one by one, until it was a chorus of hollow, distant laughter, echoing off the rusted metal and broken swings. It was the kind of laughter that didn't belong, that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. The playground was empty, but the laughter was everywhere, swirling around me like a cold wind. I spun in circles, searching for the source, but there was nothing, just the empty swings swaying gently, as if invisible hands had just let go. The merry-go-round spun faster, the laughter grew louder, rising to a fever pitch. The metal groaned and shrieked, and for a moment, I thought I saw shapes flickering in the shadows, small darting figures that vanished when I blinked. Panic took over. I ran, scrambling under the fence, chased by that chilling sound. My friends' faces were pale with fear as I burst out, gasping for breath, the laughter still ringing in my ears. We didn't speak as we hurried home, each of us glancing over our shoulders, afraid of what might be following. I thought it would end when I got home, that the safety of my room would keep the fear at bay. But for weeks I'd hear faint giggles outside my window at night, just beyond the glass, as if the playground's ghosts had followed me home. I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the laughter drift through the darkness. I never told my parents the truth. They'd think it was just nightmares, the product of an overactive imagination. So I kept it to myself, growing quieter, more withdrawn, haunted by memories I couldn't explain. But I knew the laughter had followed me home. Sometimes I'd catch a glimpse of movement outside, a shadow flitting past the window, or the echo of a giggle carried on the wind. The playground's secrets had become my own, a burden I carried in silence. Every night, I'd lie in bed, covers pulled up, listening to the phantom laughter outside, a reminder of my 10 minutes in the forgotten playground. Even now, years later, I sometimes wake in the dark, certain I can hear it still, and wonder if some places are never truly abandoned. When I was 12, something changed in the way I slept. I started waking up in the middle of the night, heart pounding, a cold sweat on my skin, and a deep, unshakable certainty that something was wrong. It wasn't just a bad dream or a creak in the house. This was different. It was as if the darkness itself was pressing in, whispering that I wasn't alone. My bedroom was on the second floor, tucked away at the back of the house. The window looked out over our backyard, which sloped down into a thick, tangled forest. During the day, sunlight would pour in, and I'd watch squirrels dart through the trees. But at night, the woods became a wall of shadows, and the window felt like a portal to something unknown. I used to love that window. I'd press my face to the glass and imagine adventures in the woods. But as the nights grew colder and longer, I started to feel uneasy. It was a subtle shift at first, a sense that I was being watched, even when the curtains were drawn tight. The feeling crept in slowly like a chill under the door. I'd lie awake, listening to the house settle, the clock ticking past midnight, and wonder if I was imagining things. But the sense of being observed only grew stronger, night after night. It started as a prickling on the back of my neck, a crawling sensation that made me pull the covers up to my chin. Then, one night, I heard it, a faint, deliberate tapping on the glass. At first, I thought it was just a branch swaying in the wind, but the sound was too rhythmic, too intentional. Tap. 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 The sound echoed through my room, impossibly high up for anyone to reach. I tried to convince myself it was nothing, but the tapping returned, night after night, persistent and patient. I'd hide under my blanket, squeezing my eyes shut, hoping it would stop, but the tapping only grew louder as if whoever, or whatever, was out there knew I was listening. One night, curiosity finally overpowered my fear. My hands shook as I crept to the window, every step feeling like it echoed through the silent house. I hesitated, then slowly pulled back the curtain, my breath fogging the glass. That's when I saw him. A man, hovering outside my second-story window, his face so close to mine that only the glass separated us. He wasn't standing on anything, he was just floating, suspended in the night air. His skin was deathly pale, almost glowing in the moonlight. Wet, stringy hair clung to his forehead, and his mouth was twisted into a grin that stretched far too wide, revealing rows of sharp, uneven teeth. It was a smile that didn't belong on any human face. But it was his eyes that truly terrified me. Black, hollow pits that seemed to swallow the light. There was no emotion in them, no life, just an endless, empty darkness staring straight into me. I was paralyzed, unable to scream or move. He raised a hand and pressed it against the glass, leaving behind a foggy, ghostly print that slowly faded but never quite disappeared. My legs gave out and I crashed to the floor, gasping for air. The noise must have woken my dad, because he burst into the room, eyes wide with concern. But when he looked at the window, the man was gone, vanished as if he'd never been there. My parents tried to reassure me, insisting it was just a nightmare. But the next morning my dad found something he couldn't explain, ghostly handprints smeared on the outside of my window, high above the ground where no one could reach. He climbed up with a ladder and scrubbed the glass clean, searching for any sign of how someone could have gotten up there. There were no ladder marks in the dirt, no footprints, nothing, but every night new prints would appear, as if the man was coming back, again and again. For as long as we lived in that house, I'd wake up to find those faint, ghostly handprints on my window. No matter how many times we cleaned them away, they always returned, a silent reminder that something had visited me in the night. Some things can't be explained, or forgotten. Even now, years later, I still dream of that face in the window, and sometimes, when the night is especially quiet, I swear I can hear that slow, deliberate tapping echoing through the dark. We're told to outgrow our childhood fears, to explain away the unexplainable, but the memories linger, the icy air, the phantom laughter, the impossible face at the window. Childhood isn't always sun-drenched. Sometimes, it's shadowed by fears we can't name. These stories remind us. The scariest tales are the ones we live. Some fears never go away. They just wait, quiet, in the dark corners of our minds. I'm sure you have your own stories. Moments that still send a shiver down your spine. Share them in the comments below.